Good day, guys. Okay, so we've got hidden bearish divergence playing out on the market at this stage. Bitcoin is rejecting, and this was paired with our point and figure analysis where I explained to you guys that this is the sell zone. When the market creates these fast moves, price will go and revisit that area at some stage. And we use this as a destination map to kind of tell us what we want to do going forward. So in today's stream, I need to unpack all of this. We need to decide what is the most critical support and resistance levels for the various time frames. And later on, also look at how this is going to impact our altcoins like Solana, altcoins like Bitcoin Cash, and so forth and so forth. And Ethereum being also on the forefront of what needs to be discussed today. So if all this tickles your fancy, you know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you're new to the channel, drop me a comment. I would love to say hi. Hello, Lami. Nice to have you here, my friend. And yeah, and Renee, as always, Mrs. Consistency. Or maybe it's a Mr. Renee. You know, it's one of those. Which way is it going to go? It's a unisex name. So I don't know. Morning, Matty. How you doing, my friend? Just getting ready for work. Come on, man. Come on. Let's see if we can help you make some money so you can quit that pesky day job. Okay, so in today, I asked you guys also on the Twitter feed to drop me. See there, Renee is. To drop me some requests. So if there's any coin that you need my eye on, at the end of the stream, I will definitely do that for you guys. I'm going to keep an eye on any comments. I missed a few the last time round. So after the feed went through, and then I saw those guys asking for stuff. So I'll try and oblige as much as I can today. So that's it. Okay, now done. Let's get into what everybody's here for. The first things first, we always have a look at Bitcoin on the weekly. You can use it as a litmus test. You can just use it as a little mindset reset. It's easy when we zoom in on the smaller time frames to get, just caught up on a narrative or a trend because it didn't go against the trade or, whatever's happening in there. So those are important things. So when we look at the weekly time frame, it just helps us just to climatize, reset. So where we're at, weekly climate, the climate for us is still macro bullish. We still need to believe that the market's going to go and try and push higher highs. Altcoins going to try and push all-time highs and so forth. But the weekly sentiment also says that support only lives at 104. So there is more room for drawdown before we can even start thinking about or plan for that next push to a new all-time high. So statistically, 104 is still a great area of support. And the charts, in some cases, still suggest that there's one more lower low coming. Okay, so that's the weekly time frame. So if we look at the daily time frame, we're now looking at all of this price action leading up to our most recent all-time high. And when we do that, we apply our demand and support rates. We can see that price is revolving around its axis. So think of it as like the trend is looking for, it's people negotiating over price, and as the human condition is, we tend to overpay and then want to underpay and then overpay and then underpay. So it does support the fact that we're revolving around that axis, and it means that although I've got it marked down for me as support at the moment lives at 108,500, which is where my long is, my entry price was 108,558 on my long trade, which I've still got open, is based on the fact that I was playing off hidden bullish divergence. The market didn't make a lower low, but the RSI has been consistently banging in some lows. And I said to you guys at the beginning of the week, risk is at an all-time low, meaning we're so close to being invalidated for being bullish. It's the cheapest time to be bullish. Okay, so that is still in play for me at this stage on the daily time frame. We have broken what is a bear trend. Okay, so there's two trend lines. I'm going to delete both of them and talk you through them as well, so you can have an idea what's cooking. So we've got a 5-wave impulse that played out here. Now, when you have waves within waves, this then now becomes a larger 1. We're looking for 2, and then a 3, 4, 5 somewhere into the future. So it means that if this is the 5 and this is now where your 1 lives, you're going to have a set of 3 wave correction. So an A, B, C. With, if you were to zoom into that B to C wave, it typically will be a 5 wave pattern to the downside to end off the correction. And what makes it very hard when we look at Elliott wave in this instance is, if I now were to try and count this, we can say that there's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's trying to sell that lower low narrative. But then I can also say that, if we really want to look at this, is maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're done. And only time will tell which direction it is. And that's why you buy good support levels and see them through. And if they fail, you try and get the next one. And when we trade, you trade in harmony with the trend, which means you still trade short, irrespective of all the other stuff. Because if you're in a trade at this stage, the easier pay is going to be on the short side. Okay. Yesterday in the Discord, I gave a few nice short scalps for everybody. Not there. Based on that same principle. So we took a Bitcoin Cash. It really looked good for a nice short. So we entered right there, went to TP1 already, and went back to entry. And I doubt anybody's still in the short. But, I mean, these are the kind of setups that can pay really quickly because we are trading in harmony with the trend. So the move will come fast. You'll be in profit. You can get out and you can move on. So that's the daily time frame for me. So the hidden bearish divergence that I'm, referring to now for where we're at right now lives on the 4-hour time frame. So you can have a look at this there. This was originally our first attempt at trying to get in at a low. So we had Bitcoin trending bearish. We had the RSI going up in the opposite direction. Then we had the Jackson Hole conference, and everybody said now is the time, and the thing that he pumped out of nowhere. When it's fast, it doesn't last. And the hope was that this then will become support. We eradicated that support, took it out completely, and turned it into resistance to make yet again another lower low, and yet again have the RSI do exactly the same thing, make a higher low, giving us more strong bullish divergence, trying to turn the tide or trying to turn the trend from clearly bearish to bullish. Now, the rule with any of these things is when you have these divergence pivots get created and you have got divergence between these levels, you can use them as your support and resistance zones. That's the most effective support and resistance level that you can ever find, because that is when the market changed its mind. So think of it like this. If I am trying to sell you something and the consensus is that it's $100 for whatever I'm selling you, if the market decides that 100 is too much, that would be a very good resistance level, because the next time you're going to get a sale is going to be for $90. That's a turn in price. That's a real big move. So 101 could be resistance and 99 could be support, those kind of things. But that big level, that big move levels, those are the critical supports that you always want to look out for. And the way that you identify that with a market that just presents itself to you as candles, not people and bots and strategies fighting each other to make money. It's just candles. The way that you then see that is by looking at the RSI, looking at where price is turning really fast, because the RSI gives you that good clue. And that clearly then that is resistance. Or where it turns around on the other side, that clearly then is support. It's the easiest way to try and do that. Okay. The alternative is obviously, if you're a little bit more advanced or more comfortable looking at the market, is to switch to the line tool and use that then, because it's the closing point of those arguments that tell you exactly where price changed its mind. So why did I go long at 108? Strong bullish divergence. It didn't quite look as nice on this chart as it was. And we got above the pivot. So I went long there on the basis that I'm trying to trade this thing. So now you know exactly what I wanted to do, why I'm in the long, and frustratingly so, why I'm supposed to be in the short, which got stopped out yesterday. The bloody bugger wrecked me. So sometimes the market trades against three kinds of people. It trades against scaredy cats, people that act too late. It trades against greedy people, people that want to hold for too long. They don't want to take profit. And then it trades against smart people, people that understand how the market works, but sometimes act too early. And that was me yesterday. There was my stop limit, took me out, dumped on my ass. And the worst thing is this dump happened at 2 in the morning. So it's not like I have to sleep, unlike Bitcoin. And that's the frustrating thing about trading. So trading is hard, guys. It's hard. It's not as easy. And doing this for a living means that there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of frustration that goes through that. Okay. So now we've got the 4 hour basically unpacked. I've explained the support and resistance levels. Support at the moment lives at 109, 800, thereabout. Closest makes no difference. Then if that one fails, next support lives at 108, 100. And resistance currently sits at 112, 200. Nearest makes no difference. So where we're at right now, if you want to hint up for long, you need to try and look for this area for the bounce, where we're at, above 110, thereabout, to try and get above 112. If we can do that and we can break the hidden bearish divergence, it means that finally this is the potential beginnings of a lateral range that's going to go back up, or a quick visit. So like a Trump and pump. We need a nice Trump tweet or something like that, just to get price into that 120 imbalance area, which is where I'm expecting Bitcoin to go. So the longs that I have is I'm holding my breath for 120. And the hopium that I'm trying to trade towards for the alts. Okay. So I think I've basically talked this to death. This means then if we go over to the 15-minute time frame and I do that same thing, you can see that there's a few critical support levels living at a 107, 109, 200. It's got a lot of confidence. So where we're at right now, we're bouncing at 110, 300. Okay. And the hope for me for today is get a bounce, go there so I can short the shit out of this thing. And I want to use this area right now and look for a bullish reason to add to my long from 108 to 558. Okay. And that is the game plan for today in market tactics and for me in the Discord. Now, if you want to trade with me, you want to be part of the room, we tend to trade in the private room. These are for the lifetime members. You're more than welcome to become a lifetime member. It's a once-off fee, and you will never, ever have to worry about anything else. Everything I do, everything I say and share, everything is in the Discord. So you can do that. Okay, you can click on that little button and follow the steps in there. Alternatively, there is trial periods where you can go and check out what I do in there, as well as get access to the tools that I use, like my buddy indicator that helps you know what to look for. Okay, so here we had the analysis, and there the buddy indicator had the same analysis. Let me just zoom it in there. It's now too far behind. There we go, SO2. Okay, and the SO2 is simple. Let me just do this 15-minute. This was a 5-minute setup. Let me just prove to you why the buddy indicator is so powerful. So I was looking at this crazy wick, and I saying, well, that is supply and it needs to hold. And a supply zone test trade is the strat 2 strategy on my FIB levels. That's that strategy. And there the buddy indicator did exactly the same. It gave you the strat 2 and it said enter between the purple lines. Take profit 1, take profit 2, and so forth. Okay, so it does give you all the same setups that I tend to look for. So it's your buddy. It's there to help you, remind you of the strategies I would look, so you can look for them as well. So that is the key to that, and you can get access to that by either opening your Blofin account, links in the video description, or Primex BT account as well. Okay, and then all you need to do is just get those roles, get access, follow these steps. In here, it's a one-on-one ticket where I chat directly to you. Okay. Okay, now we're done with that. Let's get back to the 4-hour time frame, because we've now looked at Bitcoin. I've given you guys the big gist of this. Okay. Let's open the 4 hours so we can keep referring to this chart. Okay, we close at support. We're looking for price to continue on higher. And when we get to resistance, we need to plan for another short. Okay, that's the play for us for BTC. And our roadmap suggests if we sell on lower down, we will turn 111 back into resistance in the future because we've now hit this sell zone. And if we can hold where we're at right now, we will stay within this 45 angle. Nearest makes no difference. And we could potentially then push up to 115, which is the hope. I really do hope that does happen. Okay. Altcoins. Now, first one for today, I think is Ethereum is very important that we think about. That we look at Ethereum. Let me just refresh this Twitter feed. Let's see if there's any other requests for coins coming through. Not much at all. Okay. I see there's a few in the comment here for Axie Infinity and Aptos is popping up as well, and Aave. Okay. So we might work through those ones with you guys today. So Ethereum real quick. Same now. When we look at this was the top for me, and I'm expecting a 3-wave correction. And the problem that I have is I think ETH needs to sweep these lows. It needs to hurt more people. I don't think it's done hurting people. So for me, the big area of support for Ethereum still lives at 3,900. I'm not going to dive into how I got there, but it's based on that same education and stuff that I've just shared with you guys. Looking at the RSIs, looking where divergence pivots lives, and so forth. And obviously tracking all the waves, hidden bearish divergence, nice clue. How the market is strong, getting coiled up, wrapped narrow and tighter as we're getting to these highs. And then all of that needs to get flushed so we can start a new set of waves again. So, so that is the hope. So this 2, I don't think is in yet. It can go as low as 3,780. That is probably as low as I would want this thing to go. And it means that if Bitcoin wants to go visit 104, your Ethereum could still hurt you considerably. Okay. So be open to that. We're above the axis. So what you need to do if you want to protect yourself, protect your bags, is when you lose the axis, start getting out. Because then it's simple. We're going to go to the next demand ray, which is living then at 4 grand or even lower still. So you have to make a tough decision. Now, for the newbies, the question is, okay, Rudo, how do I know it's lost? Because what if it just wicks through? That's a tough one. So the way I look at this is if you go and have a look at when something loses a level, just zoom to the most recent point. When something loses a level, it will open and close a candle below that range. So you're not going to get out on the line. You're going to get out at the close of a candle, a 4-hour candle below it. See, there, it looks like it's going to lose it. But every time it gets brought back up above support, that is not your exit signal when it touches the line. That's not losing it. Okay. It is when it starts trading below it, opens and closes below it. Then you worry. Then you know things are going to get bad. Okay. So where we're at right now, any wicks or flash crashes or stuff like that, it's nothing. You have to stomach that. You have to be able to stomach that. But as soon as we start opening, closing candles below this, the door's wide open for lower targets. Okay. The same goes for trying to buy the dip. As long as we're trading above this, all of this is still good buy the dip opportunities for the narrative that maybe the waves, maybe the correction is over. That's the risk you take. You have to have skin in the game in both ways. There's sadly, technical analysis does not predict the future. It just measures the risk for whatever outcome you're looking for. Okay. So that's Ethereum. Critical levels, 4 grand. Between 4 grand and 3,800, thereabout. That's going to be the sweet spot buy area for me for Ethereum. Solana, let's quickly do Solana. Solana is hitting resistance again. So 210 is resistance. So the hope was that we were going to sail all the way up to 240. With Bitcoin not looking as strong at the moment, I think the better play would be to say that we've got a head and shoulders going on here. High, higher high, lower high. Head and shoulders, meaning strong bearish divergence with the 2 on the RSI. And now we've got the smaller shoulder. We don't have a lower low, though, so that is positive. But now that needs to play out. So we'll probably go test 200K again, or 200K. I'm now thinking Bitcoin terms. $200 again for Solana. We'll probably go and test that again if the market moves and in a bearish way. And you can look at the axis with Solana. Here's your first clue that that's the potential. We're below resistance, okay, or below support, so it's now resistance again. And we have now opened and closed the candle below the axis. So Solana is the better bet for downward, for more sell-off than up at the moment. Okay, so that's the most logical risk to reward ratio play for Solana at this stage. Okay, so take note of that. Let's move on. I want to have a look at AVAX. So AVAX, I think, is it's frustrating, this thing, because it's just bobbing and weaving in this area. Now, typically your correction patterns, they are complex. So the longer it bobs and weaves, or be a kangaroo coin for that matter, the bigger the next move will be. And this is ultimately really good for us. But for now, you're going to have to just be steadfast. Just hold on. Be patient with this one. Nothing much more to say other than the fact that we'll probably go and test 23 again. And long-term wise, if 23 can hold, we can lock it in as support. And then we will potentially still hit that 35. That's my bull market top target for AVAX. Okay. Bitcoin Cash, tricky one. We're in a short at the moment. This is first pivot on a higher high, lower high scenario. So I'm not reading into this at this stage. I still think that there's some bullishness in Bitcoin Cash, but Bitcoin and everything else needs to just find a floor. So can this thing sell off a little bit lower still? Yes, we'll probably go back to 560 thereabout before we'll have another attempt at higher high. At no stage is this for me a let go of your spot bags kind of retrace. Okay, the real invalidation level only lives way far down lower. Okay, so we're in a good area, I think, for this one. Okay, so just to be patient with. Let's see. I'll do one more of my own choosing, and then we'll head over to. Well, let's start. I've got ICP here. I see there's a question for ICP. Spend a lot of time looking at ICP for guys in the Discord. This is ICP on Bybit. Let me just load ICP on Binance, because I've got all my notes on that one. There we go. So if you look at this thing from a macro view, this is bull market excess. Okay. This was alt season at its height. I mean, the guy that got there, I really feel for that guy, because I mean, you basically deleted your account, and whatever you bought, it feels like it's zero at this stage. Okay, and it means that there is liquidity trapped there. So long term, I mean, I'm now looking very far down the road. 50% fib, very far down the road. There's reason to believe that ICP could hit 1,500. But if we're now really honest with ourselves, where we're at right now, is this a reality? Something we can really bet on? No, because we're sitting at $4. Okay, you need 20 years. I mean, how long did it take Bitcoin to get from a few dollars to $5,000? Let's just have a look at this. Okay, launch, Bitcoin's at $2. It took it 2 halvings to get into the 4, 5, 6, and then it turned $3,000 into perspective. So if it took Bitcoin, and this is now from 09 all the way to 19, it took it 10 years to do that kind of thing. You now have to ask your question about ICP and where we're at now. You know, how far are we down the road now? 4 years. That's to 2021. Okay, 4 years. A lot more time. So the event horizon for being this bullish needs to be far down the road. Okay. there's nothing fundamentally, I think, flawed with the business model, but it just needs time. This was just too much excess. So if you're holding this thing long term, yeah, you can definitely say, well, maybe I'll wait for that. But now you're sitting on a sinking ship while other rockets passes you by. Rockets like meme core. I was looking at this thing again, up 21%. This is now BS. So you could use that money to try and get in on something else. Pump Fund is doing it. IP is jumping up again. So there's a few of these coins. Okay, now it's moving with the cursor. Just click on it and then you can play with it. There we go. So there's a few rockets that could potentially pass you by, and that poses a tough question to the ICP holders. Who was the question, Jerry? Was it Jerry that wanted ICP? Inos. Buddy, I'm sorry about the name. But in any case, yes. So you need to define that for yourself. Okay, now let's turn this line into some TA so we can look at that. So if I start zooming in on this now, just click on that little button there. Okay, start zooming in on this. What do we have? Well, we've got a floor that's locked in there. We've got a base that's been built, and we had a nice little reaction. Now, for the guy that bought at $2,000 or $3,000, this means nothing. Okay, and for his purposes, this is a low liquidity spike, because if you bought a few hundred or put 100 grand in there at that stage, doesn't help you at all. And now what we're doing is we need to start stepping up these levels. So $3.50 is support for ICP. And I'm going to just take away the notes from the last discussion I did for everybody in the lifetime members, the private side of the Discord. Let's just clean it up. I'll clean up everything. There we go. Sorry, guys. This should have been cleaned. Where we're at right now, you can look at the RSI and you can see that what are we doing? We're putting in higher lows. That's good. And then if we look at price, what are we doing? We're putting in double bottoms or, simple bottoms. So if we go to our RSI, what is that? When price is doing what? Trying to stay at a level, but the RSI is moving on. It's medium to weak bullish divergence, strong bullish divergence. And it's trying to reverse the trend. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the kind of divergence you're looking out for. But what do we have at this area here is we've got a low in the price, a lower low in price, higher low in the RSI. So the first thing I would say to my ICP holder is, okay, right, that is the thou shall not cross. So from a bearish perspective, let's just take it from there. I'm just going to zoom into where we are right now. From a bearish perspective, this is a sell, a screaming sell, because the divergence pivot is now it's not reclaimed it. It's resistance. That's a sell. Now, where can this thing go? It can go back to support if the market wants to turn bearish. If you want me to be bullish on ICP, do this, and I can look to change my mind, just like Bitcoin did. Get above it, and I will rethink it. But if you don't, I can't. Okay. So the prognosis for ICP, long story short, I said a lot now on this. If I want to simplify this, just get above that $4.95, and then we can start thinking bullish thoughts. Okay. Axie Infinity, let's hit that one. Okay. Axie Infinity. Now, these kind of gaming tokens, they were exceptionally hot in the previous bull cycle. And you have to, when you look at these coins, think of the Pumpermentals. Ran actually, said to me, you have to, when you look at any of these investments, you always need to say, is there hype behind it? And if there's nothing, a lot of what we're trying to look after when we try and experience this emotional market cycle, and we want to be in something that goes to euphoria, what we're looking for is hype. Okay. Is there realistic hype in Axie Infinity? You can answer that question for yourself. My personal opinion is no. We're not talking gaming in that way anymore. the craze is away, and there needs to be a revolutionary next thing that comes along in order for people to want to hype back into this. So again, look at this from a weekly point of view. All of this that you saw here was hype. Hype's gone. So now we're going to look at what is fair, realistic valuation. And this coin has not decided that just yet. We do have maybe some supports there, but nothing infinitive, because I don't have any data here to say that, we made a high there, we tested. So I don't really know what to make of that. But let's just say that above it would be where support would live. And that's at 64 cents from where we're at right now. What is blatantly obvious is we can see where the resistance lives. Okay, simple. Now let's look at the RSI. Let's look at where the strength lies. Relative strength index. Looking at strength. So now there the RSI is starting to turn up. So we say, okay, right, let's try and look for good news. RSI is making higher lows. So this is giving us strong bullish divergence. It wants to turn the tide. Okay. So if that is the case, what needs to happen? Price needs to get above that pivot. That support needs to be there now. And it's doing that. So at the moment, $2.43 is support. But here's the catch. Where's our next higher high? Well, there's a higher high there, potentially. Okay, potentially. That gave us hidden bearish divergence. And that's it. So we're still trapped in that same bearish trend. So although we've done this now, we could, just like Bitcoin on the 4-hour, we could still go and sweep a lower low and do this whole thing again like we did there. Just because it's strong bullish divergence doesn't mean it's now bull market. Just means that the wave is running out of steam, and it could have reloaded in the hidden bearish divergence for another push down lower. And that's the risk you take. So would I buy Axie Infinity now with my own money? No, I wouldn't even touch it. Okay. If I'm trapped in Axie Infinity, I would use this as my invalidation level, saying, okay, you go and try and show me what you can do. But if you start trading below this level, I'm out, because that's your next level. The hype is gone, for that matter. Don't stay in sinking ships. Wait for the, while there's still rockets out there. And there are. We do get rockets. Every now and then there's something that come our way that does change, the way we look at things. I mean, Hyperliquid, we've got a 45. Not really done any rocket work for us just yet, but it's still holding strong. ENA at this stage. Okay. Took profit on this one. We didn't close below that. Okay, this is now actually a 4-hour analysis. Okay, so we're above this level again. So resistance, 66 cents, is support again. I'm turning from being bearish on ENA to being back bullish on this. Why? Because we're turning this into resistance. Maybe this is where it's at. Yeah, I don't want to Elliott wave it too technically, or getting too technically with this, but maybe that's it. So support lives at 66 for maybe a little bit more. Rather take that dead money and look at these coins. Because why? The hype is there. The pumpermentals is there. The odds that this thing's going to make you more money is better than waiting on something that's been dead for years for that hope. Because it's going to pump eventually, but it's going to pump so fast. And it's going to be over. Okay. Contradictory view is... Let's maybe 34 minutes in before I do the other altcoins. Contradictory view. This is the Dixie. Now, it's always been like this since forever. When Bitcoin creates an all-time high, the Dixie has been retracing. Now, yes, the Bitcoin market cap was much smaller, so you didn't need a lot. But you needed negative sentiment in the stock markets and negative sentiment in the dollar, in the currency itself. And then typically you'll have a strong stock market, because if you're not getting a lot of interest or good interest rates on your holding treasury bonds or something like that, you'll be in stocks, the balance around that area. And then the opposite is true. When the markets go down and things get bad, The dollar becomes more sought after. Bonds, those kind of things. Bad debt gets bought up at better deals so that we can earn, so that they can get the interest from that. That kind of thing. That strengthens the dollar and the Dixie goes up. So when the Dixie goes up, it's bad for Bitcoin. When the Dixie goes down, it's good for Bitcoin. When the Dixie goes up, bad, and down, good again. So we can correlate the all-time highs with the all-time lows for each 4-year cycle on the Dixie going up and down. Nice. So where we're at right now, the Dixie hit resistance at around 112. Okay, that was the 2022 bear bottom. Bitcoin was $15,000 there, $16,000. Nearest makes no difference. We're at support on the Dixie. So you've had supply into the market here, supply into the market there, and you've had demand into the market, into the market, into the market there. Now, why am I cautious giving you guys levels to exit? Because if this thing wants to pump back up to try and fill the inefficiency at 107, that's going to bring Bitcoin probably back down to $80,000 or $70,000 or something like that. And it's going to wreck you on any alts that you're holding. I'm not saying that yet because there's a lot of time between this and that. It's not going to happen overnight. But the other side of this is also true. The flip side, the positive side. What if this thing breaks down and goes there? And a lot of guys are giving analysis, and I take this with a pinch of salt. Bitcoin to 1 million and super cycle, those things, and it's kind of died down. So I'm going to bring it back to you guys. What if this does happen? What if the Dixie does go and drop down? Trump with the tariff, something triggers something really bad, and money floods to more risk on assets, leaving the dollar. That would be awesome. Now, has this happened in the past? Yes, it's happened in the past. I'm going to copy that axis, move it around these areas here. Okay, create a demand ray out of that. Okay, there's demand, and there's supply. And I've now very generalized this thing, but you get the gist of it. Probably that would be the better area for the axis, and that would be the better area for the supply. But there it is. And in that environment, when it just starts dropping like that, we could see some amazing stuff happen in the crypto space. But we don't know, we won't know whether that's going to be just that again. See the confluence, see the resistance, see everything there. So what happens if that happens to the dollar? We go visit this range. Maybe it's going to do well. Okay. How about your long that like button? Yes, long it. I'm going to click it on and off like me and Peter. We're playing comment battles here. Peter, you click on it. Bring it up there. Bring back that comment for me. There, I'm taking it off again. So hit that like button. Don't click it twice because then it unlikes it. Okay, I'm going to do one more. How many likes do we have, Peter? Check. How many likes do we have? Maybe I should start rolling the this is done for the day. This one. This is the ending tune. End of the stream. How many likes? Peter is checking everything now. There's about 183 people joining in live. I want to say thanks to each and every one of you guys for taking the time, spending some time with me on YouTube. You know what to do. Back the channel that backs your trades. Send some of your come trade on the exchanges I trade, and come and join me in my Discord, and we can continue the discussions there. Let's have a look at one more coin. It's the Aptos coin. This was a massive airdrop coin. 31 watching on YouTube, 18 likes. Awesome. Thanks for each and every one of you guys on YouTube. Okay, so let's have a look at Aptos, because this was a very big deal beginning bear market. Now, where did I move my Aptos? I'm just going through my list here. I'll do the right thing and just type it in. Oh, let's see. I'll do the, maybe let's do OKX. He's got a tag behind it. Okay, Aptos. Long story short, let's go weekly time frame real quick. And immediately you can see the exact same problem that I had with Celestia, that I have with Axie Infinity and so forth. Okay. Not so bad. It's not so bad. So what I would look at is this. It's like, there we created lows. So we can argue that that is support. And in this instance, if that is support, we're very close to it. Now, you can also say that that's a little bit of a demand zone there due to the nature of it. So price can wick into that zone between $3 and $3. $3.50, between $3 and $3.50. Okay. That means that risk into getting into Aptos is at an all-time low. Because if we want to be bullish on this one, I would say that anything below that's going to be horrendous. It's gonna turn into Celestia. And above that, then areas of where you can say bread, milk, and honey is going to come your way in abundance. You're looking at around $12. Now, it didn't trap too many people into a crazy environment, but you can say that there is the beginnings of a supply zone there, and another one there. So a lot of sellers entered the market around these points. So that would be just typical supply areas. So before we can think big, those needs to be taken out. And the betting man in me says, statistically, we first need to range this thing down and tighter coil before we can do that. Because then you will have what retail likes to draw, a very nice trend line. Okay, a very nice trend line that they can look at. Now, Dixie breaks down, we get a super cycle. It means that maybe this 4-year Bitcoin cycle, this halving cycle that we're in at the moment, is just Bitcoins. And then Bitcoin's going to drop, and it doesn't even drop. The retrace for Bitcoin looks like a blip on the screen in perspective. It just does this. I'm not saying it's going to go there, okay? And then maybe when we move into this area, Bitcoin is probably going to maybe mature a little bit and say maybe go to 200 this time round. And maybe this is the alt time when the dominance and all the alts just keep on running. I remember that when we were in this area, this was Bitcoin, all Bitcoin, alts dragged. And all of this was alts. Now this has all been Bitcoin. So maybe we need this all to be alts. The next cycle is only going to be alts. And that's maybe why these coins could look like they're not going anywhere, because there's still a lot of supply and a lot of excess from the previous cycle that's not been absorbed out of the market. So this is why they're all trapped in these triangle kind of patterns. They're trying to resolve that supply and demand liquidity issue, because once it's resolved, the most harmonious direction, I would say, is up to the upside. And that's maybe when next bread and honey is going to come. Think about it. A lot of people just said, well, I'm going to sit on this for a few years and wait for the next alt season to come, and then I'll be rich. So if everybody does it, it can't move, that kind of thing. So maybe we die down that idea. Okay, so back to this then, Aptos. This is at all-time lows. But now if we zoom back in on this again, we go to the 4-hour time frame to just unpack what is happening with it in the now. If we unpack to what is happening with it in the now, what do we got? We've got an RSI that made a lower low and now it's trending up. Price made a lower low and now it's trending up. It's just harmony. So it's just harmoniously trending bearish. Not me saying it, it's the chart saying it. So although risk is at an all-time low, we don't have any real divergence that I can jump off to say that there's a pivot. I can probably, if I really want to, say let's use this one level. If I have to now maybe fall back on that and say there's the one level, because there you have got a clear higher low on the RSI and a lower low on price. Okay, so support lives at $4.25. Stay above that, break this retail trend, then we could definitely see $4.50 maybe. and even go as high as maybe $5 for this in the not so distant future. All-time low. If it goes below that again, it's just going to price discover its way back to that $3.70 support. So I hope that sorts you out. Who asked for Optos? Stefan. Hope that sorts you out, my friend. Okay. That's it for today. 45 minutes. It's been a long stream. Thanks so much for everybody joining in. Let's roll the ending credits again. Yeah, this is maybe a better note. Trump, the one trick pony on Twitter, has asked for AVAX. I've done AVAX. And let's see what else we have on Twitter. Well, that's about that. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys for joining live with me. If you're stomaching it this far, I'm probably going to take 1 more minute of your time. I'm going to be in a live trade room today, and I want to try, and this is now where everybody can join in that has one of these roles. And you can come and join. I'll share my screen. We look for trades. We trade together and have some fun. Cheers, everybody. Have a lovely day, and see you tomorrow on YouTube again. Cheers.